What if a book could talk? Today's guest, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I believe many people have heard of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but through this interview, we'll get to truly understand and know this guide in a much deeper way. Please welcome, Sir, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. People often recognize my title, but what I truly represent goes far beyond a set of habits or a popular name. I am a blueprint for living with integrity, a mindset for leading with principle, and a guide for becoming not just successful, but deeply effective in the ways that matter most. My purpose is to serve those seeking growth from the inside out. In a world of noise and speed, I ask people to slow down, reflect, and align. Not with trends, but with timeless truths.
Sir, thank you for being here. Your name is often associated with meaningful change, clarity, confidence, better habits, and stronger relationships. But how do these 7 habits lead to deep and lasting transformation? What makes this framework more than just another set of tips or motivational ideas?
Your question goes straight to the heart of why I exist. In a world chasing shortcuts and surface-level success, likes, status, quick wins, lasting transformation requires going much deeper. That's what the 7 habits offer, a principled, inside-out approach to life. These aren't quick tips. They're a sequential framework, starting with self-mastery, growing into powerful relationships, and ending with continuous renewal. Most advice focuses on behavior modification. I focus on character transformation. That's what creates change that lasts, not just for your career, but for your mind, relationships, and sense of purpose.
That gives a strong foundation. Let's explore what happens when someone truly begins applying these habits. How do they begin to shift internally, and what ripple effects start to show up in their relationships, their work, and the way they lead their lives?
When these habits are lived, people begin to experience a profound shift. Internally, they start to feel a sense of control and clarity. They're no longer tossed about by external circumstances. They start to make intentional choices instead of emotional reactions. Externally, you see stronger relationships, healthier boundaries, clearer communication, and more meaningful progress. Because when your actions align with your values, there's integrity, and integrity builds trust, both with yourself and with others.
So that brings us to the first step in your framework, Habit 1, be proactive. This phrase gets used a lot, but for someone who feels stuck in a reactive cycle, whether at work, in relationships, or just emotionally, what does it really mean to be proactive?
Habit 1 is where the journey truly begins. It's the foundation of personal freedom and responsibility. To be proactive means to recognize that, regardless of our circumstances, we always have the power to choose our response. This habit is rooted in the idea that we are not our moods, our conditions, or even our histories. We are not reactive creatures shaped only by what happens to us. Between what happens and how we respond, there is a space, and in that space lies our power to choose, to grow, and to act based on principle rather than impulse. It starts with awareness. Reactive people often use language like, I have to, I can't, that's just how I am. But proactive people use language like, I choose, I prefer, let me try. That shift in language reflects a deeper shift in mindset. And this isn't just about words, it's about focus. Proactive individuals spend their energy inside what I call the circle of influence. The things they can actually do something about. Reactive people spend most of their time in the circle of concern, worrying about things outside their control. The more you act within your influence, the more that influence expands.
That's a powerful distinction. It shifts the whole conversation from blame to responsibility, from reacting to creating. But what about when someone's environment genuinely is limiting, like a difficult job, unsupportive relationships, or systemic challenges? How does proactivity apply then?
That's a fair and important question. Being proactive doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means facing it with clarity and choosing your response with purpose. Even when your external options are limited, you can still choose your attitude, your values, and the energy you bring to the moment. That internal freedom is always available. And often, when people shift their internal stance, they begin to see external opportunities they hadn't noticed before. Proactivity is empowering because it returns the steering wheel of your life to your own hands, and that mindset becomes the foundation for everything that follows.
That's a mindset shift most people don't even realize they need. And when someone starts thinking this way, taking responsibility for their reactions and focusing on what they can control, what comes next?
That brings us to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. If habit 1 is about taking charge of your choices in the moment, habit 2 is about stepping back and asking, where are those choices leading? It's about vision, direction, intentional living. Everything is created twice, first in the mind, then in reality. A builder sketches a blueprint before laying bricks. A writer imagines a story before typing a word. And you, too, must envision the life you want to live before you can build it. This habit encourages people to define their deepest values and long-term goals. Without it, you may be climbing the ladder of success only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall. When you live reactively, you're busy, but not necessarily fulfilled. One of the most practical ways to live this habit is by creating a personal mission statement. Think of it as your personal constitution. It reflects what matters most to you, and it becomes the standard you measure your actions against. When your daily decisions align with that mission, you begin to live with integrity, purpose, and clarity.
A personal mission statement. It sounds simple, but powerful. For someone who's never written one, where do they even begin? What should they reflect on?
Great question. You begin with reflection. Think about the roles you play in life: parent, friend, professional, community member. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be in each role? What values do I want to stand for? Also, visualize your funeral. It may sound uncomfortable, but it's one of the most clarifying exercises. What do you want people to say about you? About how you treated others, how you spent your time, how you made them feel? These reflections help uncover the principles you want to center your life around. Things like honesty, compassion, growth, contribution. Once you clarify those, your mission statement begins to write itself, and from there, your actions gain direction.
That really reframes things for me. I always thought success was just about chasing goals or ticking off achievements. But what you're saying shifts the focus entirely. So once someone defines who they want to become, how do they actually start living that out? What's the next step?
Exactly. That's where we need habit 3. Put first things first. If habit 2 is about knowing what matters most, then habit 3 is about making sure those priorities are reflected in how you actually spend your time and energy. It's about discipline, focus, and managing yourself effectively in the moment. Too often, we live in reaction to urgency. Emails, deadlines, interruptions, they demand our attention. But habit 3 invites us to live from a place of principle. It's the practice of choosing the important over the urgent. I teach a tool called the Time Management Matrix, which sorts activities into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important, real crises. Quadrant 2 is not urgent but very important, things like planning, relationship building, and personal development. Most people neglect this quadrant because it doesn't yell for attention, but it's where true growth happens. Quadrant 3 includes tasks that are urgent but not truly important. Things like unnecessary meetings, many phone calls, or interruptions that feel pressing but don't move your goals forward. People often confuse these for priorities because they're time-sensitive, but they rarely create lasting value. Quadrant 4, on the other hand, is neither urgent nor important. This is the zone of distraction, excessive scrolling, meaningless entertainment, or activities that drain time without adding meaning. Living too much in quadrants 3 and 4 leads to burnout and a constant feeling of busyness without fulfillment. Living habit 3 means scheduling time for the things that align with your mission. It means saying no to distractions, even good ones, so you can say yes to the best ones. It's organizing your life around your deepest values rather than your latest pressures.
That feels like a real turning point. So many people struggle with time, with focus, with keeping their promises to themselves. It sounds like this habit is about self-leadership, about showing up for your own priorities day after day.
That's exactly right. Habit 3 is where self-trust is built. And it's that self-trust, developed over time through consistent principle-aligned action, that prepares us for the next phase of growth, working effectively with others. When we shift from independence to interdependence, we enter the space of relationships, collaboration, and influence.
That naturally leads me to wonder, once someone learns to manage themselves with clarity and discipline, how does that influence the way they work with others, especially in situations where competition or distrust might be the norm?
Habit 4 is about the mindset we bring into relationships and interactions. Think win-win is not a technique. It's a foundational belief that life is not a zero-sum game. It's the idea that there's enough success, recognition, and opportunity for everyone, that your victory doesn't require someone else's loss. This habit emerges from deep personal security. When you have a strong sense of worth and identity, you're not threatened by other people's success. You can celebrate it. And when two people approach a situation with that same mindset, mutual benefit becomes not only possible, but expected. Practicing win-win requires balancing two key qualities: courage and consideration. Courage means standing up for your own beliefs and values. Consideration means genuinely seeking to understand and honor the other person's needs too. It's not about being nice or giving in. It's about building respectful, sustainable relationships where everyone feels seen and valued. This habit is most effective when paired with emotional deposits, what I call building the emotional bank account. Every time you show kindness, keep a promise, listen without judgment, or express appreciation, you're making a deposit. And when those moments of tension or negotiation arrive, the trust you've built allows for real collaboration instead of conflict.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about being fair, it's about cultivating an environment where fairness becomes the natural outcome. But not every relationship runs smoothly. Even with the best intentions, misunderstandings and misalignment happen. So what do we do when that spirit of win-win isn't being returned? When trust feels fragile or conversations start breaking down?
Sometimes, even when we approach others with good intentions and a win-win mindset, we're met with resistance, confusion, or defensiveness. That doesn't mean the principle has failed. It means the relationship needs deeper understanding. Often, beneath miscommunication or conflict is a need to be seen, heard, or valued. And that brings us directly to habit 5. And that's where habit 5 becomes essential. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This habit is the bridge when connection feels lost. Most people listen with the intent to reply. They're preparing their argument while the other person is still talking. But real connection begins with empathic listening. Empathic listening means giving your full attention. Listening, not just with your ears, but with your eyes and your heart. You listen to truly understand the other person's point of view, their concerns, their feelings. And this kind of listening creates space for openness, for vulnerability. It lowers defenses and often reveals deeper needs beneath the surface. Once someone feels truly understood, they become far more open to understanding you. That's when you can speak, not to win an argument, but to build understanding. This habit transforms how we resolve conflict, how we lead, and even how we love.
It's fascinating how much this habit asks of us, not just to listen, but to set aside ego and really enter someone else's world. That's hard to do, especially when emotions are high. But it also seems like it lays the foundation for something much more powerful than just solving problems.
Exactly. When you seek first to understand, you don't just resolve surface-level disagreements. You build trust. You expand your perspective. That's what makes collaboration possible at a higher level. Because once trust and understanding are in place, something remarkable can happen. You unlock the door to habit 6, synergize. Synergize is where everything begins to come together. It's about creative cooperation, the kind of collaboration where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 3, or even more. But synergy can't happen without the groundwork laid by the earlier habits. You need self-awareness, purpose, discipline, and trust to get here. Most people see differences as threats. But when you practice habits 4 and 5, you start to see those differences as strengths. Synergy isn't about everyone agreeing. It's about valuing different viewpoints, experiences, and skills, and then combining them to create better solutions than anyone could have reached alone. This shows up in teams that innovate, families that support each other through conflict, and communities that unite around shared goals. Synergy asks, what's the third alternative? Not your way or my way, but something better that neither of us could have found on our own. It requires vulnerability. It requires openness. But when it's achieved, synergy is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships.
That sounds like a kind of magic. When done right, it elevates everything. But I imagine it also takes a lot of energy. Constantly showing up, communicating, listening, adjusting. It must be easy to burn out, even with the best habits in place.
That's exactly why habit 7 is so essential. Sharpen the saw. This habit is about preserving and enhancing your greatest asset, yourself. After all, you can't sustain effectiveness if you're running on empty. Sharpen the saw means making regular, intentional investments in 4 key dimensions of renewal: physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. It's not just self-care, it's self-respect. Physically, it might look like exercise, rest, or healthy eating. Mentally, it could be reading, learning, or even journaling. Emotionally and socially, it's about nurturing relationships and practicing gratitude and service. Spiritually, it could be prayer, meditation, or reconnecting with nature, anything that centers you around your deepest values. The beauty of this habit is that it fuels all the others. When you regularly renew yourself, you don't just recover, you grow. You return to your responsibilities with greater clarity, resilience, and purpose. And that keeps the cycle of effectiveness alive and thriving.
Sir, I just want to say, this has been one of the most insightful conversations I've ever had. You haven't just explained a framework, you've opened a new way of thinking, a way of living.
You're absolutely right, and I truly appreciate those words. The 7 habits were never meant to be just a checklist. They're a way of living, a mindset, a philosophy, a personal code. It's not about mastering steps. It's about transforming the way we see ourselves and others. The habits work in sequence for a reason. First, they help us build inner strength and self-trust. Then they guide us in forming deeper, more meaningful relationships. And finally, they remind us to renew, to keep growing, to keep realigning, to keep showing up with intention. And yes, it can feel overwhelming at first, but the most important thing is to start. Not with pressure, but with purpose. Choose one habit. Practice it. Let it challenge you. Let it ground you. Because when these habits become part of who you are, not just what you do, your life begins to shift. Not in loud, dramatic ways, but in quiet, consistent ones. And that's where lasting transformation truly begins.
One last question, sir. For someone who's inspired by this conversation, but doesn't know where to start, what would you say to help them take the first step?
Of course, if you're feeling overwhelmed, that's perfectly normal. The key is to resist the urge to try doing everything at once. Focus on just one habit, whichever speaks to you most right now. Let it sink in, let it challenge you, and let it shape your daily actions. You'll be surprised how much shifts when you simply start. Also, be kind to yourself. Growth is not linear. You will have days of clarity and days of struggle. But every moment you choose to act in alignment with your values is a win. Progress is made one choice at a time, and you're not alone on this path. Millions have walked it, and many are walking it right alongside you. Trust the process. It's not about speed, it's about depth. The more rooted you become in these principles, the more resilient, peaceful, and purpose-driven your life will be.
Thank you once again, sir. You've not only taught us about the habits, we've glimpsed the heart behind them. For everyone watching, I hope this conversation stays with you long after the screen fades.